Welcome to the First Things First podcast. And first things first, we need you to subscribe and leave comments letting us know what you think of the show. We're listening. I'm Nick Wright, joined by two of my favorite people, Jenna Wolf, Chris Carter. Now, let's get the show started.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Thursday. Everybody good?
Bap. Let's do this.
Let's get right into the show. Whether you think it is too little, too late for the Cowboys, mathematically speaking, they are still in the playoff hunt. So getting Ezekiel Elliot back this week couldn't come at a better time. The star running back missed the last 6 weeks after his suspension, but rejoined his team on the field yesterday. If Dallas wants any chance at the playoffs, they need to finish with wins against the Seahawks and Eagles. And that's all Zeke wants to focus on, and certainly all he wants to talk about. Take a listen.
I'm not really going to talk about it. It's behind me. I'm just trying to start a new page, a new chapter. And, I'm going to thank, this Cowboys organization for being behind me. Thank for my family and my team and my friends for just supporting me through the time, and especially the Cowboys fans who stuck by me through this tough time and haven't lost faith in me. But I'm not talking about it anymore. This is going to be the last time you hear me speak about it, so please don't even ask me about it.
We have talked a lot about the way the Cowboys have looked in the last 6 weeks without Zeke. They have exposed a lot of the problems we almost didn't see because Zeke was in the lineup. So is it realistic now to think that Zeke's return, CeCe, can fix all of the Cowboys' problems?
Not fix all their problems, but I think, first of all, I want to address something. As far as Zeke and him trying to answer questions as far as what's happened with him. And I think it's very, very important for people to understand that Zeke is going through a very difficult recovery process. He is trying to come to grips with what he did and where his life is. And part of the moving on process, I know he's doing this behind the scenes, so it's hard for him to try to relive that in front of the media. So if you try to ask him questions as far as what happened in the past, I know personally he is dealing with it. He's not trying to avoid it, and I believe that will lead to him being successful on the field. If I thought that he hadn't dealt with it, if I didn't think that he had ongoing steps or measures to help him be a better person, I would let people know that. So I know that how hard he's working behind the scenes. I believe it will carry over to the football field. It won't cure all the woes that they have because it's about wins. Right now, they're at 8 wins. They need at least 10 wins, and 11 wins would have helped them. But Zeke is one of the best players in the NFL. Last week, we saw Aaron Rodgers joining a Green Bay team that was not a good team, and he wasn't enough to get them over the hump in Carolina. Dallas is not a bad team without Zeke. They're just not a great team. They're just not an explosive team. But Zeke has that power like quarterbacks do that would enhance the other player. He makes Witten better. He makes Dez better. He makes that defense better. I know we talk about Sean Lee, but Zeke has the same type of effect on that defense because time of possession. So I look for Zeke to come back, and because it's a running back, and they've been running the ball well without Zeke in the lineup, that he'll have a tremendous impact. But all the issues that Dallas has are not cured just by Zeke.
People are going to focus on this with Zeke back. How much better does Dak get? Because the story of the last 6 weeks has been Dak's play dropping off a cliff without Zeke. But something, Chris, you had been pointing out all year long was the Cowboys and 30 carries. The Cowboys and 30 carries and what it does for their defense. And so our great statistician Dusty put this together now that Zeke is coming back. The Cowboys with at least 30 carries, their defense allows 16 points per game. With less than 30 carries, they allow 31 points per game. They allow 100 more yards per game on defense when they have fewer than 30 carries, when they have 30 plus. And their record is 7-1 with at least 30 carries and 1-5 with less than 30 carries. So I say that to say this. I do believe Zeke will help Dak. I also think we have the reason to believe Zeke will help the defense. So maybe cure everything. He's not going to make Jason Garrett necessarily be more than clapping on the sideline. He's not going to fix maybe a tepid home field advantage for Dallas. But he is as Eric Mangini is going to join us later today, he is absolutely a force multiplier, even for guys on the other side of the ball.
We use it a lot on the show.
Well, ever since Coach Mangini defined it for us, it's a guy, he uses the example of you pay a quarterback $20 million, and then you hear the commentary be, he needs better players around him. You want guys, your best guys, to be someone that makes everyone around them better. To use the quarterback example, a great one-to-one be Deshaun Watson in Houston this year.
Wow.
You saw that defense, that offensive line, the wide receivers, everyone get better when he was out there. Those same players, when he wasn't out there, not playing like that. Zeke seemingly can do that not only for Dak, but also for the guys on the defensive side of the ball.
And not just the defensive side of the ball. And something you said yesterday when we heard what Des Bryant said about how excited he was to have Ezekiel Elliott back, that it would maybe lift some of the pressure off him. And you had an issue with that, saying you should want the ball all the time, whether a guy is coming back or not. It not only helps the defense, but I would imagine on the surface it helps the offense. It's less pressure on the wide receivers who've had a really shaky season. I don't want to say the last 6 weeks season. But then on the flip side, is it almost like, oh, well, we don't have to do as much because Zeke's going to come back and he's going to take the brunt of the workload?
No, I mean, they still have an athlete's mentality. The better your chances are, the better athletes that you have. They know they still have to play, but Zeke not only brings the 30 carries back, but he brings the big play back. A lot of the runs the Cowboys have, when Zeke's not in there, they might get 8 to 15 yards. But with Zeke, that might be 25 to 40. So if he can run the ball into the red zone, that makes the tight end, Witten, better. That makes Dez better. No, they're going to do their job, but the amount of work that they have to do, it's decreased a little bit because of Zeke and his overall ability.
Well, and if we go back to the Giants game, the fourth quarter of the Giants game, where the Cowboys had those explosive run-after-catch plays.
Yes, 3 of them.
2 of those in particular, the Beasley play and the Des Bryant play, if I'm remembering it in my head correctly, and I'm almost sure I am, it was a single high safety.
Yes.
They were trying to defend the run.
Yes.
So
playing man-to-man.
Man-to-man, 1 high safety. You're going to see that defensive alignment so much more often with Zeke on the field.
Yes.
And so guys that aren't great after the catch, if you only have to make one guy miss, you don't have to make the corner miss and then have a safety coming downhill at you. That's going to allow guys that Dez, who's on the other side of it, Cole Beasley, who's just not an explosive player. Witten's not going to make anyone miss no matter the alignment. But those guys give them more opportunities to not have to make 2 guys miss. Break 1 tackle, and then you can get those yards after catch, which is something the Cowboys had struggled at all year long.
Let's take this from the other side. Tell me as a player what's going through Zeke's head right now. Is Zeke going to just pick up where he left off? I know we talked about how the running back is a position where you could seamlessly transition right back onto the field, but it's been an emotional 6 weeks for him. You said yourself, like stuff that we don't know, that he's done a lot of thinking, and whether he's remorseful or not, he's done a lot of playing games in his head right now just to get himself in the right frame of mind. Talk to me about what his approach is to now returning to the field.
I would think of one game, and it was the preseason game his rookie year. I think it was the 3rd game against Seattle.
I remember that.
And, I mean, the 3rd game in Seattle, it's almost like a dress rehearsal for the first game of the season. Now, Zeke did a little wandering around town about, before the game. But on the field, he sent a message to the National Football League, and especially to the Seattle Seahawks. I mean, he tried to run through Cam Chancellor and a couple other guys. In that game, he sent the message that I'm for real. I'm not just some great college player. I'm physical. I got breakaway speed. So I expect that type of attitude that he will send a message. I expect to see a lot of Zeke Eaton in this game because he knows what's at stake. And he also realizes that he's got a huge hurdle to be able to get over from a PR standpoint as far as football fans around the world. Not just Dallas Cowboys fans, because Zeke, he has a unique combination of coming from Ohio State to the Dallas Cowboys, 2 of the strongest brands in sports that are out there. So there's Zeke had a lot of fans that he lost, that he's going to have to try to win back. And his teammates, he'll have that at the forefront of his mind when he takes the field.
And one thing that I think Dallas has going for it this week is just because of the way the tiebreakers work and the playoff picture, and I won't bore people with it, what Jason Garrett can say to the team and be totally honest is this. If we win Sunday, we are alive. It is not if we win Sunday and this team loses, because Atlanta is playing New Orleans. If the Cowboys win Sunday, they go into Week 17 alive for the postseason. There is no scenario where they are not, barring a tie in one game. So Jason Garrett can say, guys, take care of business Sunday. All the turmoil we've been through this year, we go into the final week of the year alive for the playoffs, which is all we could have asked for given the suspension.
They have 2 games left. They have Seattle and they have Philadelphia.
Yep.
Seattle's giving up 200 rushing yards a game. The Eagles may not be playing for much, so they may not have all their guys in. So if there's ever a chance that this team could do something with Zeke back in, these next 2 games could be it.
Also, I'm not watching no more football with you.
Why? What did I do?
You said single high safety.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to be in a cover one coverage.
I heard,
there's less bodies.
Listen, let me tell America. Let me tell America.
I'm done with you.
I heard that CeCe's been putting together full screens and is going to try to do some blind reveal later. That's my corner. So I hopped on his corner to start the show. Eat that.
That's the first time in your life you said single high
safety, man. Single high safety. Been talking about that for years.
Much respect.
Hey guys, it's Nick Wright. Thank you so much for listening to the First Things First podcast. But before the show moves along, I want to tell you about another great podcast available from Fox Sports. It's the Maybe I'm Crazy podcast with Joy Taylor. You know my friend Joy from Undisputed, but on Maybe I'm Crazy, she's breaking down the biggest stories in the world of sports in only a way Joy Taylor can. Does any other podcast beside Maybe I'm Crazy have loser power rankings? I don't think so. So check out the Maybe I'm Crazy podcast with my pal JT every week from Fox Sports.
Hey guys, welcome back. This is First Things First. That's Mark Schlereth. Hey Mark, how you feeling?
Off the sick bed.
Mark
He's
was
playing
a little
injured,
under
folks.
the weather.
Yeah, I had no voice for a couple. I still got a little bit, but I can speak now.
Difference between football and TV. Football, you could have played through that yesterday.
Button it. You out there talking in the hallway to people and everything. When I tell you, no, get to the question.
Okay.
Save it for us.
Yes.
Exactly. All right. It is safe to say most teams in the NFL have moved on from last week, right? That's the way football works. You play, there's an outcome, you focus on the next week. Unless, of course, you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, who, despite what they will tell you, probably still have a pit in their stomach after the way they lost to the Patriots. Between the catch, non-catch, the game-ending interception, there's a lot to dwell on. Here is Big Ben.
The great and crazy thing about all that is it was last week, and we can move on now. We don't have to sit and dwell and have hindsight and 20/20 vision or whatever else they call it. We can just sit there and move on. And the great thing about that game is it wasn't the last one of the year. It wasn't a playoff game where we're having this final meetings and all that stuff. We get to move on and play another game this week against a really good opponent at their place. So, and a really good defense especially.
First of all those superpowers in the world, if you could have hindsight and 20/20 vision, that's kind of a rock star combination.
Yeah, that is good.
All right, so let's talk about the Steelers and how you move on from it. We've all moved on, basically. It's Thursday. We're looking ahead. But it seems like the Steelers are still talking about this. It's still sort of festering a little bit.
And because they're still getting asked questions about it.
Yeah.
And you answer the questions, and that's just the way this game works. But I will tell you this. Sometimes you lose games like that, and it tells you a lot about your football team. And, I've gone in places like Kansas City when the Chiefs were really good and lost a very close game and thought to myself, we're a really good football team. We're a really good football team. As a matter of fact, that was 1997, and we went on to win a world championship. So, I'm sorry, Nick, I forgot you're a Kansas City guy.
Yeah, just the night.
But I think sometimes you have to look at those things and you have to take away what you take away. This is the first time the Steelers ever played a bunch of man against New England. Now, they didn't find a way to stop Gronk, but the next time they play the Patriots, if they do, the next time they'll be that much better at playing some of those coverages that they normally don't play. So you take that away. We came down and we threw a touchdown pass that wasn't a touchdown based upon the way the rule was written, and they called it right. But we came down in the last seconds and were able to do that.
A lot of positive.
Right, and we didn't have Antonio Brown for a large portion of that game. So I think you take some of those things away and say, hey, if we get them again, this game actually builds confidence, doesn't take it away.
I agree with all of that. The one bit of irony there in Big Ben's comments is he's the one that's elongated this conversation more than anyone. He's like, good thing about last week is it was last week. We can move on now. I was like, okay, Ben, I'm glad you've decided. Now we can move on. Because the day before you gave these comments, you questioned why Martavis Bryant wasn't on the field. Talked about why Spike, no Spike. You talked about it. You were the one that the coaching decisions that was dwelling in the past. And now I get why you would dwell in the past, because I can't speak to the specific game you're mentioning in Kansas City. Was that a game that determined home field advantage in the AFC?
No, it was earlier. It was earlier in the season, but it still gave us as a football team this feeling of, dang, we're a good football team. And by the way, we did go to Kansas City.
Of course you did. Everyone did. I'm sure we missed a bunch of field goals and blew a
Way to throw that one in there.
Yeah, I mean, my guess is the Chiefs were leading in the fourth quarter of that game and ended up losing.
I don't really.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what happened. I mean, that is the toughest part for the Steelers in turning the page is, because I agree with Mark. I think they left that game saying we're better than these guys.
Yeah.
Our best player was injured. We held him to 16 through 56 minutes. We had a stomach punch at the very end of the game and still drove down the field in less than a minute, put ourselves in position to win it or tie it, and then one bad play went against us. The reason it's not quite as simple to me is, at least the way I'm wired, if I feel I've blown an opportunity that I know does change the future, like the Steelers knew if they won that game, the Patriots could not get home field advantage.
Right.
And now the Steelers know the Patriots almost assuredly will have home field advantage. That's something they can't change now. That's what makes this one particularly difficult.
Nick, if I'll just look at your career. Ultimately, working through after graduation, radio jobs and everything, you wanted to be on TV. And you had to make some calculated decisions of how I'm going to get there. You had a few different paths of how you can get there. Now, if you had made a decision and it had derailed you, that you couldn't get to your destination, you would be very upset, and you wouldn't let that go. Ben and the Pittsburgh Steelers, I'm a week-to-week guy. I am. I'm about moving on to the next game. But they will not get over this loss unless they are in Super Bowl 52. Well, Chris, how could you say that? Because the paths to victory or success changed so dramatic with those last 3 or 4 plays. Where Pittsburgh, I mean, we got New England, they could have to come back here. We could be the number 1 seed. Man, we could avoid Jacksonville unless it's in the AFC Championship.
New England could be the 3 seed and have to play an extra playoff game.
Now New England, with Buffalo on their schedule, they don't even have to leave New England. I mean, until January for them to be able to make it to the Super Bowl. So for me, it's not going to be this week. For me, it won't be week number 17. It will be only if the Pittsburgh Steelers get to Super Bowl 52, because with those plays and with those decisions, they altered their path, and they made the path easier for New England. So for me, it's Super Bowl or bust with this type. Now, you could leave the game with a great deal of confidence, but if they're not able to participate in the Super Bowl, to me, this loss, I will look back and say, this was the day that the Pittsburgh Steelers missed their biggest opportunity.
What I would ask you is, with this team and the perceived, I think, lack of maturity sometimes that this team comes with, and they do, and the fact that they always seem to have a little bit of strife within that organization.
Always a little something going on.
Always something. You know,
Wednesday before you're playing New England, Martavis, he's not there at practice, unexcused. And then now you're in the goal line situation, biggest play of the game. Right. Now he's not on the field. But we ain't got no answers for that.
But they always play, they seem to play to the level of their competition, regardless of who they play, every week. And this is almost one of those things, I almost feel like this is better to get that loss for them. And I know there's no such thing as a good loss, but it's almost better for them to lose. I would fear if they won this game going away, that would be it. That'd be their season. There's nothing that would motivate them the next time they meet, if in fact they did.
So that's what I was going to say, and that's my question to both of you as players. You said, well, at least they can walk away from this game knowing, hey, we're the better team, we're the more talented team. I would think that's a bigger gut punch than if they just got beat and now they can go work on something. Doesn't that sting a little bit more, knowing we really should have? That's why I think it stays in you a little bit longer.
If you lose to a team that you feel you're better than?
Yeah, then as opposed to just getting beat. So now you're right. If they they had, won that game, maybe their confidence is all set and maybe they blow it because they do play up and down to their competition moving forward.
But now in the back of their mind, they know Tom Brady is 11-2 against the Steelers. And I know a lot of the players be like, oh, I wasn't here for that. But you know what? You just got to witness last week who Tom Brady is. So even if you just got there, the image of Tom Brady and the fear of Tom Brady, like, it's real. So I'm looking forward. Pittsburgh, they got to get to the Super Bowl because they made the path so much easier for New England, and that is because of a team called Jacksonville.
Yep.
And you want to be able to avoid them.
Lakers came, Lakers saw, Lakers conquered the team with the best record in the NBA. The Houston Rockets, they knocked them off 122-116, protecting you. Lonzo Ball, the second overall pick last year, because we love you. He was okay, 16 points, 9 boards, 4 assists. Fellow rookie Kyle Kuzma, 27th overall pick, considerably better than okay. 38 points, 7 of 10 from 3. Joe, can you move to your right just like 5 inches? It spoiled a 51-point night for James Harden. Here's Kuzma after the game.
Last thing for you, Kyle, 38 tonight, as I mentioned. Did you expect this from yourself as a rookie this fast? Did you expect to be able to have games like this?
Oh, yeah.
No problem?
Yeah, no problem, yeah.
Appreciate it, man.
Yep.
Yeah. No problem.
You know what else is not a problem? Confidence is not a problem.
No.
No problem. That's nothing. 38, drop that any day. What is it, a day of the week? CC, how impressed were you with the Lakers last night?
Very impressed. I wish that, and it's been bothering me for a few weeks, that Kuzma doesn't get the attention and he's not in the marquee when we talk about the Lakers. And even you watch the highlights. I mean, he dropped 38, and we didn't even do him justice in the highlights. We got a couple Lonzo highlights in there. They shouldn't even be in there. Like, this is a Lakers story that's bigger than Lonzo.
So why do you think that is?
Oh, come on. It's just people trying to make the news. Like, that's not the story. But when you watch the game and you watch the Lakers, he's having a phenomenal rookie season. He's the best rookie on their team. Yes, he got drafted after Lonzo. Yes, the general manager, Magic Johnson, didn't say this guy's number's going to be in the rafters. But, man, this guy is a tremendous basketball player. He's 3 or 4 inches taller than Lonzo. He can shoot better than him. Like, he can rebound as good as him. So what he provides for a team, and he's going to be the key if the Lakers are able to get another superstar or two, because they're not going to go there because of Lonzo. They're going to go there because of Kuzma and Ingram. Now, one of these guys might be traded, but because of their potential, that should be part of the story, and we just haven't gave him enough justice. He is having a great rookie years when most of the rookies are struggling.
And there's another rookie. The only rookie scoring more points per game than Kyle Kuzma is Donovan Mitchell.
Yes.
Guy in Utah. Another guy that he wasn't a late first-round pick like Kuzma. He was a late lottery pick. He doesn't get discussed at all. Like, this is the reality is I get why we talk about Lonzo. Lonzo was a star even prior to his dad being who his dad is. He was a star at UCLA. The hype surrounding him being the number 2 overall pick. But my biggest, I was very impressed with what the Lakers did, most notably because, so I watched this game. This is a game on NBA TV, and so anyone could see it. If you watched it, the Lakers were up 20 early.
Yes. They
blew that lead. The Rockets came back. And typically when you're a mediocre or bad team.
And a young team.
And you're playing a great team. If you had, once you build that lead, you're just trying not to let go of the rope.
Yep.
Like, just hold on to the rope. But once the other team comes and takes the lead back, it's then over. So the Lakers had a 20-point lead. Rockets quickly took it back.
Yes.
And then the Lakers in the second half, in a close game, just outplayed them. So I was impressed by that. But I just want to build off one thing CeCe said. You mentioned superstars coming to the Lakers. If I said to you going into the year, listen, the Lakers are going to have the number 2 in the league points per game rookie, the number 2 player efficiency in the league rookie, does that enhance their chances of getting LeBron? Everyone would be like, oh, of course, absolutely. Well, they do have that. But it's Kuzma.
Not Lonzo.
Like, if Kuzma and Lonzo's stats were flipped, right? We would, first of all, we wouldn't be killing Kuzma with Lonzo's numbers. We're like, hey, that's a hell of a season for the 27th overall
Solid.
pick. And if Lonzo was having Kuzma's numbers, we'd be like, see, this guy is the star we thought he would be.
I spoke it into existence.
Exactly right. And the Lakers, we would be much more bullish on their future.
Yes.
Because Ingram has taken a step forward. They would have one rookie that we thought was going to be a star playing like a star, and another rookie that we didn't think much of playing relatively to draft position well. But because the stats are reversed, and people don't want to believe that Kuzma is what he's been now through 30-some games. They played 29 games, pardon me. And Lonzo, even though his numbers aren't horrible anymore, they're not, we've dissected him every day. We're kind of missing the forest for the trees that, so the Lakers have the number 2 pick last year from Ingram, who's playing better, the number 2 pick from this year, who's showing flashes, and then found money. The 27th pick of the NBA draft, that is not like the NFL draft. 27th pick of the NBA draft very often doesn't play 3 years in the league.
Yes.
Like, that is fringe whether or not they're going to have a career. And him doing what he's doing, second amongst rookies in points, 5th in rebounds, second amongst efficiency, that's a real thing. That means something for this guy and this team moving forward.
One of the other things, excuse me, Jenna, one of the other things very impressive about his interview, if you would have asked Lonzo, did you see yourself scoring 38 points? He would have had to tell the truth and say, nah, not necessarily. This guy, listen to what he said. And just as calm as can be, you surprised? No. And that's something that I took note of because he said it with the humility, but also with the confidence that, this will continue because this is where I saw myself, even though I was only the 27th.
Do you want to see that in Lonzo? Do you want to see a little more confidence like they did?
I just want to see what's natural. And to me, that was a natural interview. He's actually being himself. He's a star in the making. Sure. Lonzo, whatever comes natural to you. Like, if I thought I saw Lonzo in the interview say it and it was natural, then I would jump on it. But a lot of times, I don't think that we look at these interviews the right way because we see so many of them and we see so much people trying to say the right thing. But Kuzma, when they asked him, that was a question.
Right.
Man, did you see yourself scoring 38? Yes. And whoever asked the question was shocked.
Yeah.
Asked it again. Yes. And with the calmness that he said it, that's what I like. And I've enjoyed watching him. I just haven't had enough time to talk about him. And Nick and I have discussed him privately.
It shouldn't be lost on anyone that the Lakers have quietly had a decent stretch. So they lost by 9 points to the Cavs. They lost by 2 points in overtime to the Warriors. They went out just now and beat the team with the best record in the NBA. Kyle Kuzma's putting up these numbers. Lonzo at least is turning a little bit of a corner. Does any of this look more appealing, do you think, to LeBron James? Because I know this is the one we're going to talk about as we end the season.
Your point on the stretch is critical. They played the 3 best teams in basketball 3 games in a row, and they were competitive in each game.
Every game.
They weren't blown out by the Cavs. They took the Warriors to overtime, and then they beat the Rockets. I am not as sold as everyone else seems to be that LeBron's leaving Cleveland. If he were to leave Cleveland, the Lakers are at least still a possibility. I don't think they are the overwhelming favorite, but Kuzma LeBron doesn't care who the young star on the team is. It's not like LeBron's invested, it's got to be Lonzo. Like, if Kuzma turns into a star, like a real promising player, then yeah, I think that, of course, would be appealing to him.
One thing is who the players are they have. LeBron is not overly interested in playing with young players. Not because he doesn't like young players and mentoring them. It's about championships for him. When you talk to him, you talk to his inner circle, it's about where can they win championship 4, 5, or 6. So the Lakers, yeah, they have talent, they have some assets, but LeBron's about some veteran players. As you see, I saw an interview with Gabrielle Union yesterday, and she talked about the impact of Dwayne Wade and LeBron with that relationship. She's like, they are peanut butter and jelly. They are so happy together. So LeBron, it's beyond just the X's and O's.
Welcome back to First Things First. We welcome former NBA All-Star Baron Davis. Baron, one of the happiest guests we've had so far.
He's the best.
Sat down and started smiling.
Appreciate it.
Good mood. Yeah. I love it. Welcome. Thanks for hanging out with us. Let's talk some Lakers. They pulled off a big win last night over a Rockets team with the best record in the NBA. Rookie Kyle Kuzma dropped 38 points, 12 of 17 from the field, 7 of 10 from three-point range. And if numbers aren't your thing, Mom, Know this, Kyle was good. My mom watches, she never understands what's happening. But fellow rookie Lonzo Ball chipped in as well as he continues to play better and he continues to look more comfortable in that Lakers uniform. 16 points, 9 rebounds. Baron, I'll start with you. We've been hard on Lonzo Ball this season, and rightfully so. He actually hasn't played that well, but maybe he seemed to have turned a corner a little bit. How would you evaluate Lonzo Ball so far and where he fits into this Lakers team?
You know what? It's for me. I don't really like to judge rookies because I know like what they go through in their rookie year. I know that he's going to be great. There's going to be some good times, some bad times, some inconsistencies, especially with a young team like that. But overall, he's doing a great job. I think him, Kuz, Brandon Ingram, what the Lakers have, as a young, talented core, they can't really do no wrong right now.
Tell us about what rookies go through from their the transition from being maybe one of, if not the best player on the court almost every game you play in college basketball, or one of the very best, to what they go through as a rookie.
Yeah, it's like, all right, so you play, 30, 40 games in college, right? You probably play like 20-something games in high school. Now you're going traveling every city on a plane, getting in 3 o'clock in the morning. Now you have to condition your body to train. You got to condition your body to eat right. And for a rookie, you don't really have a routine. So being around veteran guys, things like that, that's how you learn. So year one is really like you become a sponge. Year two is like, okay, at least I have a routine to go by. And then year three, you'll see somebody. You'll really see his progression.
Barrett, as the third overall pick, you kind of understand a little bit what pressure is like. And your pressure was probably different because maybe you didn't have a Lavar who was there traveling with you and making sure the media knew exactly what he wanted you to do. Can you just talk a little bit about the pressure that both the team and then the media and everyone else sort of places on you that keeps you from focusing just on basketball?
But also, too, I remember you in high school. And I remember the hype on you before you went to college.
Yeah.
And you was a third pick. There was a lot of pressure on you coming into the pros. So I see there are some similarities outside of the father. I just wanted to add that.
Of course.
To that.
I mean, it's just pressure on wanting to do well. As a rookie, you want to come in, you want to play. You see other rookies doing well or doing better. I wish I had a Lavar in my life when I was a kid.
Really?
It probably would have motivated me to, play better. You know what I mean? But I don't really think that the kid is, he's immune to pressure, And I think this Laker organization, they don't really, it's the Lakers. The Lakers have been famous for 40 years. What pressure do the Lakers feel outside of every year? Laker fans won the championship. So, I think they get a lot of attention, but I don't think that that's pressure on the team, because they're not playing for a championship.
Yeah.
I want to follow up with one more Lonzo question from me. The last time I saw you in person, actually, was at a UCLA game. It was UCLA-Oregon. Yep. I think Dylan Brooks had a great game in that game. Who's playing for the Bulls now, I think. One thing that I didn't expect Lonzo to struggle with this year, and I've been keying on it, and maybe it sounds silly, but his free throws. It's not like he was a 90% free throw shooter in college, but he was fine. And now in the pros, he's shooting right under 50%. To me, that is a confidence thing. There is no reason a guy would go from shooting mid-70s to below 50 unless it's a confidence thing. Does that mean anything to you, or is it just, too early?
Routine. Yeah, it's too early. It's routine, and also, he got to take his time. He's young. You get to the free throw line, the last thing you want to do is, you want to play. You got a lot of nervous energy. So, it's just the little things that he has to work on to get better. He improves his free throw shooting. He improves his jumper. He gets stronger. Look what he's doing now. Imagine what he'll do next year.
All right, let's move to one of the newest Lakers, to one of the best of all time, Kobe Bryant. He had not one but two numbers retired, Barron, earlier this week, sparking debates as to where he ranks among all-time players and among all-time Lakers. So, Barron, you had the pleasure of facing Kobe 29 times in your career. Where do you place him in NBA history? And don't worry about how these guys are going to feel.
No,
they may
you know what?
differ.
I've been answering this question a lot, and I think my best answer is you can't measure greatness. You can't measure Kobe against a Mike, against a LeBron. They're all great in their own right. It's more of a preference of opinion on who you like or who you want to play with or who you're a fan of. I think Kobe ranks up there with the greatest of all time.
And the reasons why he ranks among the greatest for you.
Performance, entertainment, showmanship, hustle, defense, championships. You know what I mean? Yeah, he's done it all. You know, he's done it all.
Now, during your time in the NBA, who were the best 5 players in your era? All right, forget about over the last 80 years. Yeah. In the era you played, and who were the 5 best players that you played against or
Kobe.
with? Yes.
Allen Iverson. LeBron James. Tim Duncan. And Shaquille O'Neal.
That's a hell of a list.
That's a great
It's a hell of a list.
list.
And it's tough to do those lists impromptu.
Right.
The Iverson thing, Iverson is, I think, a guy, and I know I don't want to spend a ton of time on Iverson, but he's a guy that I think there's the biggest discrepancy between what the general public thinks of Iverson and what players think of Iverson.
I mean, to me, Iverson is my favorite. You know what I mean? People may not say he's the greatest of all time, but he's the greatest player to me because of what he represented for a culture of kids that came up that was like, you know what, like
uniforms.
I got tattoos. You
Yes.
know, like I may not be able to play in the NBA. Like I made a mistake in high school, and now it's like I can be who I am. You know what I mean? I'm okay being who I am, being from where I'm from. Representing myself, and I think that he was the first person to kind of challenge the system. And at the same time, like, give people buckets in the most entertaining, like, everything that he embodied was him. He didn't fake for nobody.
Now, as far as challenging the system, LeBron James in year 15. Now, you tried to make a couple comebacks. Just try to explain to us what LeBron is doing at this age, because I know we don't understand, but you as a former NBA player and been out there and seeing it, what are we looking at right now?
Man, you're looking at somebody in his prime.
At year 15?
He's in his prime. He's in his prime.
How long is this going to last?
It can last a long time as long as he can run up and down the court, you know what I mean, and stay in shape. He's now continuing to evolve. So now his jumper, you know what I mean? He's starting to use his body, less. He's going with less force. He's using more finesse and just being able to see the game and pick the game apart. I think as you get older, people think you slow down, but the game slows down. So for someone like him, who's already like mastered the game at a high level, as he slows down, he becomes more and more of a force.
Who'd be more fun of those guys you put on the list? Your 5 guys: Iverson, Kobe, LeBron, Duncan, and Shaq. Who's the one you most wish you could have played with?
Probably Tim Duncan.
Oh, wow.
Or LeBron. Tim Duncan and LeBron.
How come?
Because to me, he's one of the best big men of all time.
They play the game the right way. So
he just cover. Tim Duncan, he cover all your mistakes. Imagine the best player on your team being the center and the smartest guy and the guy who, he made the game so easy for that San Antonio system,
Real quick, can you just take a step back, looking at the league where we are right now, the end of December? How do you like the way things are shaking out in the East and the West? Pick a team or two.
I like how things are starting to level out. Like the stars are like, all right, it's panic time. So OKC and people like that, they're starting to like hit the panic switch. And I think Christmas for me, Christmas Day is always when the season starts.
The start of the year.
Because you got all your top matchups.
Okay.
And now everybody is in shape. You know what I mean? They got their legs up under them. They dunking on people.
Get that little break after that. Yes.
So we're going to really see, Christmas Day, what a lot of these matchups are made of, you know what I mean? And I think going into the new year that it's going to be exciting both East and West.
All right, speaking of Christmas Day, last time I saw you was at the UCLA game, but last time we talked on television, I was filling in for Colin Cowherd on The Herd, and you told me about Black Santa. People don't know what it is. It's Barron's company. It aims to create positive, uplifting, enchanting content for kids of all ages, of all backgrounds, build a brighter, more colorful world, to use some of your guys' words. And you guys got something very cool coming out this year. Last year, you guys had some clothing, and I know you still have it, but this year you guys are changing it up a little bit with a mixtape.
Yeah, so we released our first Christmas album, and the thought was we wanted to bring, some soul, some flavor to Christmas, and so our mixtape, the Black Santa Winter Wonderland mixtape is out, and we have like short animations. So the animations kind of match each character, each song, and so just slowly building the company to eventually get to that, that 90-minute movie, that 90-minute musical around Christmas.
That's nice.
Where can people get it?
BlackSanta.com. You can also follow the Black Santa Company on Instagram. Check out all the animations, products, the music is on iTunes, Spotify.
Love it.
And if I may, since Barron didn't say it, I know a lot of our viewers, maybe when they're taking their little kids to go see Santa, go see Christmas, they don't always necessarily see like their kids represented in those images. For a lot of people who watch the show,
yes,
it's one of the cool things Barron's company does. So I really encourage people to check out the website.
Moving on to the latest twist in the Ball family saga, because there's always a latest twist in the Ball family saga. On Wednesday, Lavar announced that he'll be launching the Junior Basketball Association, a league for high school grads that don't want to go to college. He plans to pay up to $10,000 a month to the top players and says it is, quote, going to be easy to fill 10 teams. All right, CC, what do you make of this?
Okay, well, let's just go on the premise that this is gonna happen. All right?
Okay. It's a hell of a premise.
The big premise.
Yeah. Okay, so he's got 10 teams. All right, we're gonna have 12 players on each team. All right, we could say as much as 14 players because you need a couple players because the players are going to get injured.
Sure.
Lavar probably doesn't know that now. I'm sure all the particulars have not been worked out. So right now, what we're looking for is 120 to 140 high school graduates that don't want to go to college. Now, either they graduated from high school either in the last 3 years or they graduated last year. Now, why would I trust Lavar Ball with my career compared to going to John Calipari in Kentucky for 2 semesters, and he's saying his top player is going to get $10,000, the bottom player is going to get $3,000 a month. Let's say the season's 6 months.
Right, which is probably longer than it would be.
Yeah, let's just say that as a bookmark.
When people hear $10,000 a month, you think, oh, $120,000. This ain't no 12-month situation.
No.
So again, I think it'd be 4, but
We're
call
just
it 6 months.
guesstimating.
Let's call it 6 months for the top players.
Right.
So the top players would get $60,000.
$60,000.
You said at the low end, 3 times 6 would be $18,000.
$18,000. Now, I'm not giving away a college scholarship to train with Lavar Ball in some junior NBA association with. What kind of team doctors they going to have? What kind of team trainers they going to have? Is he coaching one of the teams?
What's the travel?
Where do you get the 10 coaches from? First, we got to make these teams. Forget about travel. Like, where are we going to get these 10 coaches from that can develop these high school graduates, all right, that can make that next step? Is he in charge of that, the training and the coaching? So I don't think this is going to happen. But if you're a young kid out there and if you trust your future in Mr. Ball compared to trusting the system that we have in place as far as the college system where you can go to Duke, you can go to Kansas, you can go to Kentucky, all of those things just for 2 semesters compared to going to this league and your chances, like, I'm not trusting my career, all right? All right, he's not my dad. He can't make me do that. He can't make me go to Lithuania, all right? Kids need their education, and trying to promote a league that's taking education away from kids, that is not a successful route to a journey in life. Education should be promoted. It shouldn't be taken away from kids. Now, I'm not giving away my scholarship, and I know through Coach Cal and other coaches, when you sign to go to Kentucky, that's a 4 to 6 year commitment. Even if you go pro, University of Kentucky will allow you to come back and get your degree, and they will pay for it. So why would you go to a junior association that's not going to pay for any of your education? And how can Mr. Ball think that a kid without an education is going to be successful?
Well, neither of his 2 kids he pulled them from school.
And so, here's the other part of it. I bet people right now are yelling at their TVs, oh, the guys that could go to Kentucky and Kansas and Duke, those aren't the guys that are playing in this league. It's the smaller school guys. Well, the smaller school guys are the ones that definitely need the degree. Because they're not going
to go pro.
Like
it's so obvious.
But here's the thing. This is the second thing Lavar has done that theoretically, I love the idea of it. I love the idea theoretically. Hold on, Cece, just hear me out on this before you start shaking your head. I love the idea of someone trying to challenge the NCAA paradigm. I think it's like when he started marketing the shoes for LaMelo. I loved the idea of someone trying to fight the NCAA. Forget the school paying the player. Why can't a separate entity pay my son the way a kid on I was on every academic scholarship Syracuse offered. I still got paid to do radio. I didn't lose my student eligibility at the student radio station. I want that fight to be had. But Lavar wasn't interested in that fight. He then just moved the kid to Lithuania. I like the idea of there being a well-funded, well-run alternative for kids that don't want to do the one-and-done situation. But this is not going to be that. You started this on the premise of, let's assume it's going to happen. I would lay 100 to 1. This is not actually going to happen. But if it were to happen, it is, again, from the way I can think of it, and maybe we'll all be proven wrong, this is good for one person. It's good for Lavar because we're talking about him again. I don't see the scenario where this ends up being something that is great for these high school graduates.
I think in his mind, he thinks this could be, even if it's not in his mind, if there's any part of him that thinks this is some semblance of a feeder system into the NBA that you can bypass college, he's out of his mind. You call this a potentially well-funded, well-run league. If it was done right, it wouldn't be either of those two things if he did it. It's one of those things where he's quickly putting something together without thinking about 100% of what's actually involved in getting kids where they're giving you their lives, they're giving you their future, and they're saying, okay, what do you want us to do? You already pulled your 2 kids from school. Now you're asking all these other kids who actually need the education because they're not good enough to earn a college scholarship, and you're asking them to say, bypass that, come work.
Jenna, even if they're great. I played 16 years in the NFL. I majored in communication and broadcasting at Ohio State. I've been in broadcasting 16 years. So forget if they're going to make it or not. You guys are acting like, oh, well, these are for the kids, like if they're going to make it or not. You need your education even if you make it in the league. I mean, when are we going to, as a society, put the importance on education? The education is more important than the athletics. Why? Because you're going to be living a lot longer than you're going to be dribbling and shooting, catching passes. All right? And that, I know, as one of the greatest athletes that's ever played in the NFL, my education was far more important than the platform that Ohio State gave me.
I'm Jenna Wolf, and thank you for listening to the First Things First podcast. Make sure to subscribe and tell your friends, family, and coworkers about the podcast, which, by the way, is available on iTunes and all your favorite podcast apps. You can catch a fresh new episode every Monday through Friday on FS1, starting at 6:30 a.m. Eastern, 3:30 a.m. Pacific. So long, everyone.